am Montina Portis, and I'm in the Atlanta video studio today with a special guest. And actually, I'm very interested in how she named her center, and I'm gonna let her tell you that story. But Donna Anello is here with us today, so welcome.
Hi, Montina. Thank you. Thanks for having me on. It's great to be here. Well, I am a teacher, and for about 9 or 10 years, I worked in a preschool. And in the preschool, I noticed that children were having developmental delays. They just weren't progressing the way some of their peers were progressing. And different social aspects of that started to come into play that made the children feel unsuccessful. It was difficult for them to function in their environment. They're trying to learn, they're trying to socialize, but they're having difficulty in both of those areas. So in recognizing that need, I wanted to do something to help the children and the families. So I left the preschool and I started the Ollena Center for Early Childhood Assessment. What I do is I go into a child's preschool and I observe them. I do some developmental assessments on them to determine where their developmental delay is, and then, so helpful, I connect them to individuals in the community, medical professionals like occupational therapists, physical therapists, pediatric chiropractors, developmental pediatricians, anyone in that arena that can help a child achieve success.
Great.
These children don't achieve success because they're just trying to keep up. So, and they're trying to figure out the different social cues that are happening, like personal space or facial expressions.
That's important.
It can be difficult for them.
Right.
Sometimes they have other issues like sensory processing issues or executive functioning issues. These could be children that have ADHD in time or autism. Various just delays or learning disabilities that keep them from really being successful and being happy. So I say, and I don't think I coined this phrase, but I say early identification plus early intervention equals a happier, successful child.
I think that's true. I have 3 children of my own. 2 are adults right now, which is great. And I'll tell you, now this is important to start early, but how early are you actually starting in this process? Like, when should a parent contact you?
Well, they should contact me as soon as they notice something that they're concerned about. Sometimes parents will see something that may be happening and they're not sure. It could be their first child, it could be the very first time, or they just think it's a personality. You know, it could be the type of personality their child has. And because they're not aware, and because sometimes their child is not interacting in a school situation or in any situation where another adult can say, hey, I think we have something happening here, they need to contact me. And what I do is go in and I observe that child in what's called their natural setting, which is their school environment, or something that is similar to school, like a play group, a church group, Sunday school, something like that, that's similar, where there's an adult that's facilitating the classroom environment, and then other children where they do different things, like have recess or go out on the playground. They might eat, they may have snack, they have reading time, quiet time. They're just transitioning to different types of activities that they need to make that transition, interact with the other children, and then use the different manipulatives or toys that are in the classroom.
So give me an example of maybe a recent success story, because I've often heard where parents will say, I just felt in my gut that something was wrong. So for a parent that might be thinking that something's wrong, tell us about a client that you had that you could tell us a story behind that.
Oh, sure. I recently went into a center where a young child, was having a degree of success. Academically, he was kind of on target, but socially, he was not. And he was on his 3rd strike at this center, where they have a protocol, and he was on the verge of being asked to leave the school because the teachers didn't know what was happening, and that's often what happens. These behaviors, the way they manifest, teachers often will think it's a discipline problem because it really presents as a discipline problem, and their job is to keep the other children safe and to fulfill the lesson plan, but they don't really know what to do. They're not trained how to identify what's happening. So this child was on his third strike, and I got a call from the mom, and she was awesome. She was really in tune. She said, something's happening. I want to help my child. I don't know what to do, and school is going to ask us to leave. Would you go in and talk to the teachers and just be involved with him, see what's happening? And I did. He was just a fun little guy, and he was trying to fit in. He was trying to learn, but because of what was going on inside of him, that was presenting outwardly in unacceptable ways. And so he wasn't able to learn. He wasn't able to socially connect with the other children, and he was getting in trouble a lot. So I talked to Mom afterwards, and I gave her my thoughts, and I identified certain patterns of behavior that I saw. And she's like, oh, that's what that is, or that's what that is. And she was so great. She immediately took my suggestions. I gave her a list of various medical professionals that she could get help from. I helped by making initial phone calls for her. She then followed up, and now for the past 3 months or so, he's been receiving services, and she said he is a new person.
Wow.
And not only that, their home life is even different.
Tell us, when you're talking about that list, how do you identify if a child actually has a developmental delay? Give us 3 tips that a parent, 3 things they should be looking for, or I guess maybe they're not looking for it. How do they identify it?
Well, developmental delays are age specific. So at a certain age, a child should be doing a certain thing. My website, www.ollenacenter.com, lists those developmental milestones that the CDC has put into place.
Got it.
So they can go to my website and they can see, for example, you may have a 4-year-old child that doesn't recognize the letters in his or her name. At that age, that child ought to be able to do that.
Okay.
So that would be a missed milestone.
Awesome. So you heard her site there. We'll have all of the information up on how you can contact Donna. If you feel like there's just something wrong in your gut, you can tell she's beautiful, and I can tell that she really cares and she has this background. You want to do, what's that, early intervention?
Early identification plus early intervention
Equals a happy child.
That's
right. So Donna has been on the show today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And again, all of our contact information is here. Make sure you get in touch with her. Thank you so much.